This is part 2 about shear angles, and I'm going to address specifically the sword edge, what I call the sword edge on shears. Some people call it a knife edge, and specifically the fishbone shear. So let's take a look at a sword edge and the fishbone shear. So this is what I call a sword edge. You see it has like a spine that goes down here, and it's like a wide bevel. It's not a convex, it's not like you would see like a regular beveled edge shear, but it has like a wide slant down. Now this is one that was sent to me to sharpen today, but this is a fishbone. And you see it has a similar shaped blade. Now the difference between the sword edge on the fishbone and the sword edge on a less expensive shear is usually, if you look at them close, and I don't think this one's ever been sharpened before. Yeah, you can see that actually pretty good in the light. Do you see it has a teeny tiny bevel? So it's slanted down, and then it has a bevel. And the angle on this, I can feel it's not that sharp. It's probably 35 degrees. I've gotten to where I can kind of feel from my thumb, but I'll do a scratch test and see what this actually is. This one, I happen to know, is a 60-degree angle. That is just a pure wide bevel all the way down. Now, how do you know? These are both shears that have never been sharpened. But what if you get one like this fishbone? And I'll tell you a little story about this one in a minute, because it has a really interesting story to it. And it's been sharpened, but you don't know whether what angle it was supposed to be, because whatever the last person put on it. And it's hard to know. It's hard to know. My advice is you go on the internet and you Google the brand of shears if you're not familiar with it, and see what quality is. If it's going to be a really sharp, steep, thin angle, it's going to be a better steel. Usually they may say something about like Japanese cobalt or something on the back if they're being truthful. Like this one has a, each one's a unique number to them. So if you see things like that kind of tells you about that's a higher quality, it has a better chance of this being a really sharp, thin angle. If you Google it like this one, I looked up the name, I looked up this, I couldn't, it doesn't say where it's from or what kind of steel or anything on it. I couldn't find anything on it. I'm assuming this is a low-end shear. After you've been sharpening a while, you can kind of feel the difference between an expensive shear and one that's less expensive. So if it's a less expensive steel, because if this was a good steel, they would mark it on here. I mean, they would say something about it. So if it's a less expensive steel, I can't put that super sharp edge that I see on the fishbone. So that would be one way. So let me tell you the story of this shear, how this shear went to this, and talk to you a little bit about the fishbones. And I'm hoping this will help you understand angles on this a little bit better. Now, in my training manual that we use when people come in for sharpening training, you get a copy of this sent to you to look at before you come, and then we don't read the manual if you come for training, but we go through all the pages to make sure we don't miss anything. That's kind of the purpose of it. Most people are hands-on learners. If you come in for training, you get a learning style test, so I sort of know. But on one of the pages in here, you see this chart. I talk about the thinner the edge or the higher the angle, the faster it'll go dull, but the sharper it is. The blunter the angle, the lower the angle, the longer it'll go between sharpening, but it's just not that sharp. Sort of like the butter knives you have at home. You don't have to sharpen them ever. But if you've got a nice fillet knife or a sushi knife or something like that, you're going to have to sharpen that more often, but it's going to be sharper. Same kind of thing with shears. So you're going to have to determine what angle the shears should be sharpened at. And to take one that's designed to have a blunter edge, because the metal is lower, or they're designed for straight cutting, or, you know, and take it to a very steep, sharp angle, is going to set that shear up to go dull very fast. And I know at least one shear factory, what they do, they'll make their shears and then they go back in and they put like a little micro bevel, a blunter edge on it, because most people are looking for shears that go longer between sharpening than being super sharp to begin with. So that goes back to knowing your customer, what they want, but also you need to know your shears. So if a shear has a really sharp, thin angle, to hold that angle, it has to be a good steel. And so it's only going to be your more expensive shears that are going to have those sharp angles. So that's one way you can kind of know. If you had a shear that's never been sharpened, of course you can do a scratch test and see what it came from the factory. Sometimes I've seen some factories put in, and I hate to be arrogant about this, but sometimes if some of the shears I'm seeing coming in brand new have it's a sharper angle than what maybe the customer wants. It's got to be a balance between that dulling it out with a micro bevel so it goes longer between sharpening, or having it so sharp that it feels good but it goes dull faster. And that balance will be different depending on the quality of the steel and also what the customer wants it to be. So you're actually going to customize edges for your customer and for their shears. And that's one of the main reasons that I suggest you sharpen using a clamp, because then you can set the exact angle. If you're freehand sharpening, you have a tendency of sharpening all your shears at the same angle. I heard about one factory that had a gentleman that did all the shears. He did it by hand, freehand, at a certain angle, and one of the people that they were making shears for, they said, well, we want this different angle. So they would make his seat up higher, or they would tilt his table, or they did this and that, and he would, maybe about 5 or 6 shears, he'd get the new angle and then go right back to the old one. So that's why I use a clamp for all my sharpening, because I know I can get a specific angle, and I might need to change that angle depending on, as I said, what the customer wants that shear to do and what that shear will hold. So what you're going to see me do now is, I have these 3 shears to sharpen. This one, the less expensive one, I'll do it first because I have a customer its mail order needs to go out today. I'll do this one first, and we'll do a scratch test, and I'll show you how I would sharpen the cheaper ones that have a sword edge. Then we will do, this is a Fishbone, and it just has a little tiny nick up here. Just teensy. And I'll show you how I would sharpen this with doing the least amount of work, just to kind of bring that edge up. And then this one, I'll need to kind of just reshape the whole thing. Now, I told you I'd tell you the story about this one. Fishbone shears. We made one major mistake when we made these. When we came out with them, we were not the first ones that had a razoring shear. What you do, you see how it's closed? The blade is still exposed, so you can go in and razor the hair with them. This side's going to take off more hair. That side would take off less. they don't work well if you hold it in the left hand. So these are to be held in the right hand even if you are a lefty. So there was about maybe 2 or 3 other companies that had some like this. So when we came out with ours, we were trying to find a new name. And one of them, Scissor Mall had, I think it was called Razorback. And then there was another one that had a name. And so we said, well, you know, what should we call it? We looked at it and we said, looks like a fishbone. Does, doesn't it? And so we started calling it Fishbone, especially since our logo is a little Bonika fish. In case you don't know what that's about, we are Christians, so that's the fish has been the symbol for Christianity long before the cross was a symbol. And it's like a fish is a universal animal that has no boundaries. It has no geographic boundaries. It can go, you know, it goes everywhere. And so the fishbone just seemed to fit it. Well, we did not trademark the name. And when I got around to trademarking the name, there was other companies that had picked up the name, and fishbone had become a generic term. Now, some of the other companies that have shears that look like our fishbone are made with a lower quality steel, and the screw system is not so that the blades are as close together like ours are, and so it won't razor right. And so there's been some bad reviews. You may find them some places, YouTube or online or something, about fishbone shears not cutting right. It's never been one about our shear. Now, the other thing that's the problem with the fishbone, other than we didn't trademark the name in enough time, is, and I guess, you know, it's kind of nice to come out with a generic term, you know, like we all say Kleenex, even if it's a puff tissue. So I guess we've created a new term for the industry, along with UFO screws. And the fishbone is designed, as I said, for razoring with it closed. It's designed, if you cut with it, to slide and slither or point cut. I have another video I just talked about the 800 millimeter radius, and this one would be a much lower radius because it has more of a curve to it. Never measure the radius, but it's probably about 600, I'd say. And it's designed to slide and slither. It is not designed to cut straight. If you try to cut like my bangs, if I tried to cut my bangs with this, it would just push them all over the place. That's okay. It's not designed for straight cutting. It's designed for texturizing, slide cutting, point cutting, and razoring. So, I told you I was going to tell you what happened to this shear. We sold a pair of these to a sharpener, and customer cut with them, and they're trying to cut straight, and they're sliding and pushing and whatever, and they're saying, these aren't sharp, they're just not cutting right. So he decides to sharpen them. And he, you know, most things are 45-degree angle, so he did a 45-degree angle and still didn't cut right, and then he changed the angle to 3 times. And so now, I mean, look how much metal he's taken off. I'll just compare. So I can't make the metal grow back on here, but I can make these cut, you know, razor again. He knew we had a lifetime warranty, and the lifetime warranty, you know, is like if the bumper falls out or the screw doesn't hold or something like that. And so he sent it back under the warranty because he said they never cut right. Well, the customer didn't understand what they're supposed to do, then yeah, they might not have cut the way they wanted to, but it, you know, they've been sharpened to, yeah. I told him, I said, I can't replace them with a new one. I said, but I'll go ahead and resharpen them and shoot a video and let you see what I'm doing. So, hey, I got your shears here, and we'll see what to do with them. And so if you are selling these shears, you need to make sure your customer knows there is no such thing as a true all-purpose shear. It's, I don't know if you've ever seen my paintings on the wall here. These are some of my early ones, but I do a lot of painting on the side, and I have a lot of brushes. A lot of brushes. And the reason why I can't use one brush for everything. There might be a brush that's not my favorite that I do, you know, 90% of the painting with, but there's, you know, there's fan brushes, and there's big brushes, and there's filberts, and there's chisel brushes, and straight, you know, the flat brushes, and, you know, it's sort of like shears. You can't you got different shears that are going to do different things. And if I try to sign my name and details on a painting with a fan brush, it's not going to work. Well, this is sort of like a fan brush for hairstylists. So you need to explain, if they pick them up and look at them, that these are specialty shears. And you're not going to do the whole haircut with them. You're going to go in and, you know, do some of this type of thing, texturizing. You know, my bangs need a little bit of trimming here, so I'll show you how they work. See, I'm laying it here, and these are dull. These need to be sharpened, but you can kind of see. And they'll pull off some of the hair here. Oh, these are dull, but it'll cut through. So we're going to sharpen these. So I told you we're going to do the cheap ones first, and I want to do a scratch test. And I'm going to go ahead and work the ride line before I do the scratch test. I think it'll make my life a little bit faster and easier, because these are waiting to go in the mail. And I've got a school to go to tonight. We go to the schools and do cosmetology classes. I probably need to do a video on that. Let me know if that's something you'd like to see, about how we do classes in the cosmetology schools. And so we've got a school across town. It'll be about an hour drive, but we usually will do some sharpening, sell some shears while we're there. So I'm doing the ride line. Those of you that haven't been watching my channel, I'm putting the pressure here. I've got a lot of sharpening videos, so make sure that you go check out my channel, go see what videos look good to you, watch them, and then also subscribe. I suggest that if there's some videos, let's say you're thinking about getting into sharpening, or you're just getting into this, or what have you, you may want to, if there's some videos that are covering some information that you think you'll need later, start your own little private playlist so you can come back to them. Now, if these I'm going to do on a flat plate, like a beveled edge, and this is a worn 800 grit. It will eventually go on here. Sometimes it goes right on and sometimes it doesn't. And that's kind of worn down too. This is something, if you don't have one of these, I suggest this will save you some money. This is called a swarf eraser. And you see how dirty this is? I'm going to come in here. That's cleaned that up a lot, and it'll make it last longer, so it pays for itself. So I want to do a scratch test. I've got this set at 45 degrees right now. So let's see if it's 45. I could either turn the machine on or just kind of hold it up here. That's hard to tell. It's got such a teeny tiny bevel. Let me take a look at it, and I'll let you look. Yeah, I'm glad I did this. I'm going to let you look. Okay, that's the outside edge, and when I turn it, you see I still have red right there on the edge. So I'm thinking this is the 45 is too sharp. You see the red right there on the edge. I think I'm going to bump it down to 40. I think that's going to be a better angle for me. And also, because they're cheaper scissors, a 40 is going to hold its edge longer than a 45. Got a teensy-tiny burr, but it's not as big as I would like. My 800 grit may be worn down too much now. Okay, I have a burr from here to here. I don't have it right here at the tip, and I don't have it back there, which is the way it normally is. So I'm going to hit here in the middle. You see how I'm rocking back to the tip, back to the pivot area, and then rocking to the tip. I don't do a lot of pulling out if I can avoid it, because I think that just takes too much metal off at the tip. I haven't got back in here, and it sort of, when I was looking at them, it sort of looked like whoever, you know, sharpened it, probably in the factory, might have kind of changed the angles as they went down or hit wrong there. Yeah, I can see some red right on the edge there. I might need to get something a little coarser, or give myself a new 800 red. That would be fun, because that is just about gone. Let's see what I've got here. 1500, 15, I don't want that. 500, that's too coarse. 1500. I think Misty was looking for a 500 for somebody the other day. I've also got some of the 3M here. 1200. 12. Ah, there's my favorite 800. This gives me a chance to break one in. And it's good to write on here what it is, so I'll know. It's still right up in here. That's gotta have it. That's good. And I'm just knocking the burr off here. I think I put too much soap in my water bottle this time. What you think? Got all kinds of suds. I used some of that Murphy's soap or whatever. It's supposed to be really easy on the hands and good on the environment. I don't know about all that, but it smells good. You know what I think I'm going to do? I'm going to polish this and back off a little bit, because even though it's a bevel, I normally don't polish a bevel, but I need to kind of blend it in a little bit so it's not like in your face, a little micro bevel. But I'm not going to rock it. I've done that in the past, in the early days, and messed up a pair of these sword edge shears. Yeah, looks better. Still not happy the way it gets up back in here. And I'm looking, I don't like the ride back in there either. Hope I don't have to go back and redo that ride line on it. You know, that's the thing about cheap scissors. You run into all kinds of problems that you don't run into on expensive shears. So, you hate to, you know, you can't really charge them more because the scissors are cheap. But, at the same time, they can be a royal, you know what. That's an interesting little finger rest washer. Let me put it up there. Came off of something. Yeah, that feels good. Let's see how it cuts. Now, if it doesn't cut, it's because that rod line is super wimpy right in here. And that was also where I had trouble getting a burr there, too. I watched one of my videos last night. I mean, I usually, after they're up on YouTube, I don't watch them. And I watched one last night, and I was like, you know, I watch a lot of these YouTube videos, and I thought it wasn't half bad. I was considering I've got an older camera, and I don't have any of the fancy lights that they recommend you use, or a fancy mic. I think it helps that I'm such a loudmouth that my voice shows up and you can hear it on the camera. When I was younger, I wish I had one of those little soft, little feminine voices. And I guess my voice is feminine, but it's just kind of loud. That cut good there. I'm going to blame my parents for my voice being so loud because both of them were hard of hearing. Oh, that cut nice. Yeah, did you see that? Yeah, for the cheap scissor, cut really nice. And with them being hard of hearing, they were quite old and elderly when they had me. And only child. Let me put a ribbon around that one. So a lot of my communication with my parents was at the top of my lungs. And now that my hubby's getting a little bit deaf, I think we both are from going to so many hair shows. They're so loud that I just get louder and louder and louder. Alright, so these are ready to go. So now my fishbone. This one, let's see how it cuts. This one's brand new. Oh yeah, you see that? There's something going on there. Let's clean it up and go over it with a nail buffer. But I think I want to do a scratch test on this anyway, even if the nail buffer fixes it, because I want to prove to you that it really is a 60-degree angle. A lot of people kind of like, 60 degrees, really? Yeah. And I don't know if I can sell that as new. It's got some scratches on that screw. So this could go in my sample thing, or we could sell it as a used shear or something. Just nail buffers. You know I love this nail buffer. The 3000 grit. Still feels rough. I still feel something in here. Yeah, I need to sharpen it. Okay, so let's sharpen this one. And I think it's good for you to see how to sharpen something that only needs just a little bit of something. So let's take it apart. These are kind of hard to take apart. The screw fits really, really tight together, and it has to so that it can be. I had a UFO tool in my pocket here somewhere. Oh, there it is. Went right here. Yeah, did you see my money over here? Got a tip. I still get tips. Yeah. Somebody came in the door and gave me some money. Alright, so I'm going to take this apart. See if I got a Harry's wand here. In case you wonder why we call it Harry's wand, is this idea. Dig through my little box here. I told you I put everything in this box. And I've got to go out sharpening tonight at that school. So we call it Harry's wand because that year Harry came in first place at the Sharpener's Jam with his idea, and it was just a little dowel stick with a slot in it. Now my husband cut that slot, not Harry, so it's a little bit on the crookedy side. I really need to clean out this box. I got all kinds of stuff I don't need. And probably none of the stuff I really do need. Sort of like my purse. It's a set that aside. This is Harry's one, and let's see which side fit the best. Which of the little slots? That one. So I want to be the opposite of that and slide this in. And see, that gives me a little bit better torque. And that's why the screw is scratched up. Hey, Misty?
Yeah.
I'm stuck on a screw. I can't turn it with my hands. You think you can try? Normally I'd give it to Gene to do, but of course even now he can't do it because his right hand's messed up. What am I going to do?
Try.
Alright, I think...
Is that a fishbone? Let me get the special tool.
Oh, you got a special tool for fish bones? She hides it in her desk. She hides this thing in her desk.
This is a special tool they sent us from the factory. And you're going to be so happy that you have it.
I'm still going to get you to turn it. Come here, see if you can turn it. Look at that. They cut that out. Isn't that... I don't know, that's amazing, isn't it?
Look, you do this.
But you got it hiding in your desk.
Yeah, because if not, you'll put it
Oh,
back.
it turns!
I know. I told you it was a special tool just for that. You don't have any strength and you're doing it.
I know. That's still... Can you do it?
Tightening or loosening?
I'm trying to loosen it. And I mean the screw, the shear was in the to be checked pile, so I don't know what was going on, why it was there. If it got dropped or it's a sample, or I think I can get it now. Go back to Harry's wand.
There you go.
Okay. I might have to call you when it's time to put it back together.
Okay.
I guess I should have got you to take this other one apart. Oh well, I'll work on it when it
You
comes.
want me to do that while I'm standing up? Why do you do that one?
Yeah.
Which one you want taken apart now?
This one here. This one I've got to do next. This is the one that got... I could switch screws out if you can take that apart without messing it up. I can... 'Cause that one, the screw looks nice in it. He said he sharpened that thing like 3-4 times, I think.
This one you don't even probably need this tool.
Oh, really? They purposely make these really tight because those blades have to fit together. And the alignment of the blades have to be exactly right. Otherwise, they're not going to razor.
If I do it anymore, it'll come apart. So.
Yeah, that's fine. So there's no clicker plate in here. It's just a little washer, like a little Teflon washer. And there's a kind of more of a plasticky, traditional rubber washer on the back side. See? Let's move Harry's wand. Move this one over. And one of the things I do want to show you inside, they have like little numbers and little letters. And this is to tell that these are both C number 39. And so they go together. So when they were made and sharpened, this is the initial of the person that made this shear. And then the number is so that the two travel together. So rod line first. A lot of times with these fish bones, I'll go to something finer than the 2000 grit. I'm going to see if the 2000 grit will be sufficient though. Because these have a nice, prominent, wide ride. Some shears don't, but these, they're pretty wide, but they actually don't have a whole lot of hollow, so it's a nice wide ride. I remember we had some guys from China visiting our office one time, and they studied this fishbone, because these fish bones are not made in mainline China, and they studied these fish bones, and they wanted to get one and take it back to see if they could make theirs cut like this, because as far as I know, I've never felt any shear that cuts like the Fishbone. And I'm pushing it till I can feel a smoothness there. Man, that makes for a pretty rod line. Yeah, just some really nice and good alignment. Now the question is, what grit do I want to use? This was that 800, that was a fresh 800. I think I'd rather have a worn 800. These are green, they're the same as the blue. I had someone gave them to me, and I really can't tell the difference in how they work, the green to the blue. But, so I said I'm going to do a scratch test. I'm going to set these at 60. That's the highest number my clamp goes to, is 60. And I just want to show you that that is actually the angle. Yeah, if anything, it's a little bit higher than 60, but I definitely took it off right at the edge. I'll let you see that. Take a look at the scratch test. See? Yeah, I definitely don't want to go any lower than 60. Now, talked about the radius a little bit in another video. These, as I said, have a low radius. When you see shears, I'm going to move this detente up so that I don't accidentally go down in my angle. Gives me a little bit more security there. So when they're got a really low radius, you want to make them more diagonal in your clamp and on your plate. I'm actually going to move my stop here up so I can angle this down even more. And that will make that lay on here a little bit closer to what it should be. Don't need to take much metal off. So I'm going really slow. I'm hitting in the center. I'm going to rock to the back and then to the tip and pull it out as I'm going to the tip. Got a teeny tiny burr all the way down except for maybe the last 2 millimeters here. So hitting it in the center. And so I've got the teeniest of burrs here. Just barely feel it. That's all I'm going to need. Now normally, I never polish all the way to the edge. This one is the exception. Because it's supposed to slide. I don't polish the edge because it pushes hair, but this one is okay if this pushes hair. That's the way this is designed to do. Leave it in the clamp where it is. And that burr I have here, that's actually one of my hairs. This burr is smaller than my hair, thinner than my hair. As long as it's there. And it's gone. Do another one just to make sure. Now I'm going to polish a second time. But this time I'm going to move my detente up. So I'm not quite on the edge. I think this was one of our samples, because I noticed when I pulled out our samples the other night for school, the fishbone wasn't in there. So this one might have been dropped to the floor and nicked up. Pretty pleased with that. Look at that. So, and that wasn't any kind of special fancy polish. I'm going to steal the screw off of this one and put it on this one, because it's a prettier looking screw. Let's see if I can put these together without having to call Misty. I feel it right here. I don't want to close it all the way down, but you can kind of feel that tension if it's about right. And remember how it cut before? Beautiful. Needs to be loosened a little bit. These loosen up and they're hard for them to tighten, so I tend to give it to them a little bit on the tight side. Squirt, squirt. Nice. Nice, nice. And they just feel super smooth. After you oil it, always check your adjustment again. Give it a wiggle. Okay, those will go in our samples. Now, we can't grow metal back, but I can make this back to the 60-degree angle and make it look a little bit better. So now my challenge is before me. I'm at 60. Let's work the ride line first. Yeah, if I can get these done and in the mail, I'll feel like I really accomplished something today. And I gotta pack up everything to go to that school tonight. Yeah, ride line came out pretty nice. Now I'm gonna pull out the big guns. And I have an 80 micron. Remember, I used a worn 800 on the other ones. These I have to reshape them. Angle it way down. And I'm coming in here to get that shape. Where was one? There we go, my worn 800. And then the polish. So I told you we polish all the way to the edge on these. entire rod line has disappeared on this one. Did I do the rod line first? I don't even see the rod line. Maybe I only did the one blade. It's talking to you, and I forget to do some steps in here. I definitely got a rod line now. That's going down to my 800, worn 800. I might have to knock this down to 55. I'm just taking off too much metal. I got a burr from the middle down, not back here. I can see in here, you probably can't see it, but I can see like a little shiny line from here to here where I don't have the burr. Everywhere else I've got it, but not right there. Alright, did I take the burr off here? No, I have not done that. Either one of them. I have to stop and think, where am I? What have I done? And sometimes you're kind of appalled at what you've done. So, I think it's good for you to know that I make mistakes so that you don't feel too embarrassed about sending me your mistakes to correct. Because you're like, well, Bonnie makes mistakes too. And nobody's perfect. And we're all on this journey of learning and being better sharpeners. So now I want to set... This is another reason why you always should start with the same shears. Like, okay, which one did I do at 55 and which one at 60? Because the one I did at 55, now I want to polish it at 60. See if I can figure it out. Guess I could go back and rerun the video. This one, because it looks more like a wide bevel. You can actually see it. So I want to polish out that part that looks like a bevel. And go a little high too. It's getting there. Doesn't look nearly as good as the other shear. Let's put a little bit more diamond spray on it. I'm going to bring this up a little bit more so I can get that surface of it. So I'm like at what would be a 65 right now. That's kind of cool. I gotta let you see this. The burr I pushed up, that pushed over, it just came off, so you can see exactly how big this is. It's hard to see because it's wet, but let me bring it up here. You see the little curly Q in there? Looks like, yeah, you can. See, it looks like hair. That's the size of the burr. And that was a bigger burr than on the other Fishbone because we were doing more to it. And that's a reason you might want to wear glasses when you sharpen, because that could flick up in your eye, and that's metal. See what that looks like. Not bad. And adjust it up a little bit more. Oh, not perfect, but I think it'll have to do. And you can kind of see restorative work. It's not like hair doesn't grow back, but super sharp. See how far I can put it in with Harry's wand. Should I grab this screwdriver that Misty left here that she hides in her desk? Or should I let her put it back in her desk? I think I better let her put it back in her desk. So it wasn't necessarily the shear, it was that particular screw was a little bit harder to turn. I don't think I'm set into place here in the back. No, I'm not. Did I go in crooked? See if I can turn a few more turns this way. I hope in the factory they have a machine to do this with, but I doubt it because that's why they sent us this. Because we asked them, well, how do you take these apart? How do you deal with them in the factory? And so they sent us this screwdriver. They must have really strong hands. Lay it down, that back nut gets pushed out. Okay. Let's see if I can lay it down without that back nut getting pushed out. Nope, still too loose. Still too loose. Hey, Misty,
Yeah.
can you come do some tighten my screw? I got it mostly done. Not easier to lay it down here.
Why is it not fitting in there now?
I don't know. Is there a washer missing? Well, I switched the screws from one shear to the other because that screw wasn't messed up. I could put another washer in there.
Looks like it's not fitting
But that
in the
means you
grooves
gotta-
anymore.
Means you got to take it all apart again.
It's not fitting in the grooves anymore.
Did I booger it up? Well, let's take it apart and put another washer in there. Well, this is the screw you took out.
Yeah, it was a pain to get it.
See if you can turn it with this one.
Well, I didn't even turn it, so it's whatever you did this.
Loosen it now, and we'll put another washer in there. Because the other screw had an extra washer in it. This one didn't. I guess I should have put it in there.
Well, it's almost like the little holes on it now are stripped. Like the...
Or is it that it's just too deep into that hole and the reason you can't get a hold of it?
I think
because
so.
It needs a washer?
Because I can't even grip it anymore. I think that one's just done.
Well, no, this one belongs to somebody else.
Oh.
Hey, come here and just try to turn this. I got it in the holes.
It's a defective screw. Just replace it.
Well, I know, but I
What?
swapped out the screws because that one was better. No, use this thing because this will fit in the hole, and then just turn it here. See?
It's not turning.
I did too much work on this thing to chunk it.
Yeah, it's not turning. It's like just going to break it. You can see if Jay can do it later.
Well, I guess I'm going to send him a new... I guess he's going to get blessed with the that fishbone I just sharpened. You think, Mister?
Yeah.
All right. The exciting part is this one is going to become the replacement. So I guess it was covered under warranty after all. The never-ending sharpening adventures here. So if you like to watch real-life sharpening, and I think we learned something about angles here, but yeah, this one, if you can't tighten the screw, it don't care how nice an edge, how nice a polish you did, it's done for. So I'll let one of the guys with stronger hands than me see what they can do with it. And yeah, I really miss Gene's right hand. I mean, he had all this surgery and he can't use his right hand. And I mean, shoot, even if I forgot my handle bender, he could take his hands and bend the handles. Didn't realize how important his right hand was to our business. He really is my right hand. So that's the end of this story.